Good evening and welcome to Petaluma Community Access Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, October 15, 2019. And will our secretary please call the roll?
Cindy Thomas.
Here.
Dominica Giovannini.
Here.
Judy Kirshner. Present. Randy Stewart.
Present.
Rhonda Black.
Here.
Tim Williamson.
Here.
And our esteemed Edie. Jim.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum and we have no public comment requests. So can we have any director's comments or announcements at this time, please?
I have a comment and I am bringing it up at this point in the meeting because I don't think it needs discussion right now, so I don't want to open the discussion. But after being in the county EOC all last week, it really brought to life that if we are going to be potentially a utility for the city of Petaluma, that we need to ensure that our infrastructure will stand up in the event of an outage.
Power outage.
A power shutoff. Sorry,
Yes.
county. A PG&E. No.
Public safety power shutoff.
No, a PG&E power shutoff. And so I just want to put that in the minds of everyone. SRJC was on our county calls, and so I think it is in their best interest to make sure that our antenna is intact so that they can get their message out too. So I just mentioned that. I think it's something we should definitely have a plan for before next shut off and fire season. I think our infrastructure is okay during flood season. So that's my comment.
Okay,
I have several.
okay, go
My
ahead.
comment is to put Dominica's comment on the agenda.
We can in the future. I just didn't want to make it like it's an imminent,
In the
like it has
future.
to happen right now.
Second, the city ran the EOC for 4 days last week, and I want to say that all city staff really came to the table. Everybody produced. We discovered a lot in terms of logistics and PIO functions. And out of that, I had, before I get there, everybody should make sure that they're signed up for both Nixle and Nextdoor, which are going to be used again extensively by the city for outreach in any number of citywide events.
SoCo alert.
SoCo alerts, yeah, you gotta have that one too. There's a lot of things we gotta be doing nowadays. Then on the heels of that, I had a long talk with Jill and her staff on Friday.
It's in my address as well.
Well, then I'll just let you address it. It was a long talk, and Rob and I have been following up and looking at mechanisms by which we can actually improve the infrastructure for PCA and KPCA. I'll just leave it at that. There.
That's
Since
all?
I go on months without having a comment. I can at least do one.
Anyone else? Well, on Saturday, October 5th, PCA had a picnic for all members and family, and there were some friends there too, and I thought it was delightful. And Randy, you were there. Dominica, you were there. Rhonda, you were there.
Judy was
We
there.
missed you, Judy.
I'm sorry.
We missed you,
I
Tim.
was at a wedding.
Jill was there.
You couldn't have missed me. I wasn't there.
No, we did miss you that day.
I missed you and I wasn't there. So.
Yeah.
That's
Well, we
what I
kind of
like.
missed him, just kind of, yeah. Anyway, it was a gorgeous day. There was plenty of food, lots of beverages, adult and kids, and it was a good time.
Mhm.
So, anybody want to add to that? No?
It's a nice
That's great.
opportunity to meet a lot of people that I hadn't met yet.
Yep, we were at McNair Park and it was
Producers.
nice.
It was a beautiful day.
And we all cleaned up really fast, and I think we got our deposit back, I hope.
And ask Nellie about it.
Yeah. Anyway,
Although we didn't get to jump in the bouncy house, which I was
yeah, there was a bouncy house
Well,
there.
That's your fault.
well, I think taking it down, and I was like, wait. I haven't done
So it was a success.
it. It was a success.
I also want to mention that on, was it the 8th, October 8th,
Mhm.
that we had our members meeting, our annual members meeting, and that also was a lovely event, and that was just for members. And we had a nice turnout and some beverages and refreshments, and it was fun,
Yeah.
so.
And actually quite.
And informative. Jill gave a very good talk, which included Rob coming in and providing some
Everybody.
information, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
it's
good.
interactive.
It was good. And we also announced the election results, and Domenica is on our board for another 2 years?
Mhm.
Is it 2 years or
3 years if you're elected, 1 year if you're
I don't have my
appointed.
notes, but anyway, she
There's
was
3
reelected
and
for the
2.
board, and I'm happy about that. I hope everybody
Yes.
else is.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, so I guess if we're done with that, we can move to the agenda approval. Was there anything that I goofed up on this agenda? I did correct the agenda from last month and resubmitted it to Nellie so that she could put the corrected version on our website.
I don't think so.
No,
I think
that's-
that looks good.
We have a nice, short, sweet agenda
I think
tonight.
it's lovely.
I will move approval.
I'll second.
Oh,
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, our agenda's approved. The minutes of September 17, 2019 went out. Not very
Not-
timely.
no,
Kind of my
mine-
bad on that.
No,
and
my bad.
I'll let Judy take part of the,
I'll take it all, because it's my fault.
no, when you sent it to me, I thought it went to everyone
Yeah.
and it didn't.
And
so
I realized, yeah,
I
no, totally
did
my
just
bad.
send it to everybody about a half hour ago, so. Domenica was kind enough to read the minutes to us before the meeting. We made one correction that I'm aware of, and were there others?
I have a couple. So under the treasurer's report, I think it should distinguish. Okay, so it says increase in contribution amount of 10K. I think there should be a note saying that we were discussing the budget for the current fiscal year, and it was not a increase in contribution amount. It was a added amount to the budget for this year from last year's. I would recommend perhaps just attaching that budget as an attachment for clarity instead of pulling out certain things. But for the sake of these minutes, it should be a discussion of the budget for fiscal year 2019-20, and that the budget was amended to add 10K into revenue for the year, and that there were payroll changes. Payroll and benefit changes is how I'd put it.
Your name's misspelled.
Did you get that, Judy?
I would like clarification once I get finished here with budget and
Okay.
payroll. Okay, so basically, you would kind of prefer to have the budget attached, whether that's even immaterial for this or not, but the 10,000 wasn't actually, an additional 10,000 in the budget?
No, so before, at the beginning of the second sentence on the minutes, it should say, report on the budget for fiscal year 2019 to 2020. And that some of the differences from last year's budget was, a budgeted 10,000 K revenue from underwriting,
Got it.
and that there were changes to payroll and benefits for staff.
Sorry, 10K revenue from
Underwriting.
underwriting, thank you. And changes in payroll and benefits for staff.
Yep.
Great,
What else?
duly noted. And so that needs to go in this last set of minutes for it to be correct technically?
We can accept it with amendments, yeah.
Okay.
And so, again, we're gonna have the ED in the future submit the ED report prior.
Yes, that'd be
So
awesome.
that we can have it, but no changes there.
As well as the treasurer's report.
Yes. And then I think that was it. And then just correcting the misspellings in name and using last names.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even,
I think that's it.
use last names. Perfect, thank you. All right.
Anyone else? And then, the closed session,
It should have nothing in there.
yes. Okay, so with that, can we approve the minutes with those
So
corrections?
moved.
I'll second it.
Who's seconding, Cindy?
I will.
Okay.
Is anyone opposed to these or want to abstain? Okay. All right then. We can move on to the treasurer's report. Randy, if you've got one.
I reviewed the bills and the income for the month. Everything was tied to the budget. There's no extraordinary expenses that came due. So we're well within our framework of the budget.
Okay. And did everybody review all of our statements? And if so, is there any questions for our treasurer?
Everybody should have a copy. Went out. Profit and loss in the balance sheet.
Yep, Nellie sent those on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, well, good there. Thank you, both Judy and Randy, for your reports. And if you're ready, Jill, you can do the executive director's report, please.
Okay. I listed off a laundry list of the things that we're in the process of working on. I can say that City Hall's wide-angle camera will be arriving Wednesday,
Tomorrow.
And Jeff, who's actually going on vacation finally for a week, will install it the week of the 28th.
Perfect.
By then we'll have all the equipment. There's a mounting arm that also won't be arriving by Wednesday, but the camera will be here in time for him to take a peek at it before he sits down and starts to install it. Jeff has also created new producers protocol for live streaming and radio to TV content. So we've updated our mobile broadcasting map guide for field producers to cover events that we want PCA to be present at. And we've got also, it's like a flow chart. We also have a flow chart for streaming radio to TV, a map for radio producers to create TV content. So it's, to say radio producers to create TV content, it's really producers to create content from radio that will then turn into television content. So radio producers can have a presence on radio and on television, and it'll increase our television presence as well, which is super important, and that's what we've been working on, and so that should be happening very soon. Andy's developing a training class to teach producers to prepare their programs for podcasts, which includes the FCC requirements, because they're a little different for television as they are for radio. And they will be different for podcasts as well. So anybody interested in doing that. And it's also preparing them for PCA podcasts to, again, increase our visibility. So that's going to have a double impact for us. Let's see. And speaking about the EOC, our EOC status, as we've discussed, well, first of all, during, it was Wednesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Wednesday. Jeff was on hand from 6 in the morning until he left on his, and then he was on call for the rest of the day. And then Rob took over for the afternoon, working with Jeff as troubleshooter, and they, as a team, figured out a lot of things to do with our generators and where things went wrong and where they did go wrong, where they didn't go wrong rather. You know, what PCA was responsible for and what we can improve on. Apparently it was not a PCA equipment that was that was broken down or anything like that. It was a T1 line, which is has to do with Sonic and
AT&T.
AT&T. So
Which was the one problem utility.
yeah.
For reals.
One of the problem utilities.
So we, to answer to what you were talking about, Dominica, we absolutely, you know, once that went down, we had a meeting with Tim to debrief about what happened and what we can do in the future to have it not happen again, so that we can be a reliable EOC site. And we do have some things that are in place. First of all, getting our own generator working. We have an electrician that's a member who's going to donate his time to find out the grounding wire issue with our generator, but also establishing how we can make sure that access to the room that our equipment is in, we have access to a room. Apparently we didn't have access to that room to go in and check on things. And also to, you know, maybe find another site, not maybe find, we really want to find, we intend to find another site, a backup site. In case the one at the JC does go down, we'll have a second one. So we're checking out different sites to see if we have line of sight to the JC or if we can make a bounce. And Jeff will be working with you on that as he's operations manager, and Rob certainly can assist wherever needed. Let's see. Is there a question answer thing at all, or anything to follow up or anything?
Yeah, I
or-
was gonna wait until you were all the way through, but on
Sure.
that last item you were speaking to, I have to believe that there is somebody that is on call as far as maintenance on that college campus at all times. And I have suggested this before in the past, that maybe we need to make some kind of agreement with them so that we can contact the on-call person when the station goes down. I mean, we might have to pay a fee for this. It might be cheaper than us having to go and find a backup antenna someplace, but to pay a monthly fee or whatever, or an annual fee to be able to have access to that closet through their on-call maintenance person. I'm sure that they must have somebody.
We did establish who needed to be contacted, who wasn't contacted, and who actually was the person assigned to that room, which wasn't anybody that anybody knew of. It was a security guard or somebody that was not available, and it was a really good learning experience. Fortunately, it wasn't in kind of a dire emergency this time, but we did learn a lot from it. And their generator was shut off deliberately, which caused our power to go down, and it was because it was so noisy that they were concerned about neighbors in the area being annoyed by the sound. So there are issues that, there are things that kind of say that maybe a backup is important to have,
Moving it.
Or someplace
Moving
else.
it, yeah.
or someplace else.
I know a
won't
tall
say it
building,
aloud.
I could probably ask the owners to see if they'll put it on there.
Grainer, the grain elevators.
You know, it's got a clock on top of it.
Hey,
Well, I
there you
know the
go.
owners of that building too.
There's also apparently
I know
there's
who
an
owns the
ordinance
clock too.
on the clock tower.
Mhm.
There's an ordinance that says you can't have private establishments or something within 100 yards of there's some kind of a stipulation that maybe not every place will be a good place because of that. There has to be a certain
I
distance
think Rob
between
said it was 300 feet of the antenna, and residences can't be.
residents, yeah,
Yeah.
so 100 yards, 300 feet.
Yeah.
10 years ago, we secured a site for the antenna, and I believe that the owner of the property still owns this property, and maybe we need to approach them again, so. This
And
is,
the backup
this is
is
an
great.
offline conversation, but
But we are on it, very much so.
Mhm.
It's important for us, if we're gonna be dependent upon, then we want to be, you know,
Dependable.
worthy of it, dependable, at the risk of being redundant. Yes, we wanna be dependable. We also addressed a control booth access issue, and it was kind of the perfect storm, which I have to say Anne Marie Lafferty, the access supervisor, handled calmly and efficiently, and we didn't really miss anything in the meeting, where the person to let in the access staff wasn't there. They only had like 30 minutes or something, or 15 minutes to get in there. We couldn't get into the control room to set up, to record.
I worked with them and we revised the protocol and gave them some access.
Yes,
was it
so-
because the PCA staff didn't show up for work?
No,
or-
they were there, they just couldn't get in.
It was some throwback to history stuff.
Yeah. So, moving forward,
I'm
we
not
Fixed history.
understanding this.
Oh,
can
Good.
talk in details if you want. But what happened from that event was that we now have a couple of key cards, and there will be a lockbox installed at near Future Point for access to the cards, so that we won't have to rely on anybody from the city being available to give them access. So they will have full control over access.
Oh, this
to
is at City Hall.
City Hall, yes.
Oh,
okay.
What did I-
Oh, I thought you meant the
Yeah,
station.
no,
So
no,
it was
no,
like,
that's
no,
City
it was
Hall,
a
I was
disconnect.
thinking it was a station, I'm like, what,
was a
I don't
complete
get
disconnect
this.
there.
Oh, control booth access,
Never
yeah.
trouble
Okay,
keeping up.
control booth access at City Hall.
At City Hall, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry about that, for the lack of clarification. So that's been
okay,
handled.
now I understand.
So you know they were paying attention.
I'm ready. The protocol for managing incoming underwriting is currently being ironed out. We'll have an underwriting committee meeting soon to get me up to speed, and also try to make sure that we're including language that includes PCA overall as opposed to just KPCA, which is right now what the language is written up to be, mostly from what I've seen. So it's good, it looks great, couple adjustments, and then we'll establish the flow, because from what I understand, there are people who, well, members have been invited to find underwriters, and so they will send us their contact information. We'll have either a one-on-one, or maybe we'll have several people come in for a discussion about how they can become underwriters, and what that means, and so I really would like that to happen by the end of October, because it's really ready to go. It's just pretty much ready to go.
Go ahead.
On top of that, Andy, who is a volunteer extraordinaire, is setting up, and we talked about this at the meeting, that he's setting up automation so that not only can we make sure that underwriters get every single one of their announcements and exposures as promised, as they expect to get, but we can track it as well, so that we can then take those numbers and turn it around and then tell new underwriters exactly how many shows they got, or exposures they got, or how many times they were shown on, not only played on radio, but spoken and also played on television, so, or visually. So that's nice, I think. Some nice collectible data that we'll be able to get from that system. Yeah, and aside from just the LumaFest, that's it. The LumaFest, we're focusing on information this time. If one of the, if Carson, not Carson, just met him today. If the volunteer is interested in trying to get some promos, audio promos, then that's great. Our big focus though is on maybe trying to bring in some new members, actually have them sign up and get them to come in. Disseminating information about PCA, about our television and radio station functions and the importance of public media and all that. So that's happening on Saturday. We're still looking for one other person. We want two. And we should be able to find that, I think. And that's it.
Okay. So has there any word yet on the grant for the Bill Graham, that we submitted?
So we submitted one to the Jewish, what is it? No, short answer, no.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Dr. Angela.
That was shucks, I can't remember this, it's Jewish something, it's a grant that we did, and that was like.
Oh, I thought
4
she
weeks
told
ago.
me it was with,
She's working on another
Graham.
one that I was, actually, that's why I was kinda late today, so I was emailing with her that she's finishing up a second grant on our behalf, which, she didn't say the name of the grant, but it could be that one.
So do we
Okay.
vet those before they go out?
Yes,
Like, our staff vets them before they go out and we
I
submit
saw it.
them?
I saw it.
And we submit them,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, she did email me also today with some questions that I was thinking, I thought the grant had, this application had already been submitted.
Mhm. That was for a
So she's
different one,
working
though.
on another one. Okay, that makes sense then.
She didn't differentiate that, but I
Alright.
assume that's the one. And then, as she is available, I will take full advantage of her offer to continue with grants as well as pursuing my own. I'm going to be calling some local area organizations to see if they, as I was discussing with Randy, to see if they have any grants that are very simple, that don't have such an extensive grant writing process that we can hop onto, before the end of this October, November season.
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, most fraternal and service organizations have their election for their next year's officers in November.
Mhm.
And soon after that, the incoming officers will formulate their budget.
Mhm.
So if we get a request for donation to them before the end of the year, they can consider that and put it in their budget.
Mhm. Yeah, I did make phone calls, by the way, and looked online also for a lot of the suggested organizations, and didn't have a lot of luck finding specifically a tab that talked about grant money that was available.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were kind of keeping that on the down low, and so
Yeah, it's
I
not.
think a phone call will be required
Yeah.
on everybody's.
Yeah, most of them have, the Masonic Lodge does grants, but they're for the public schools.
Mhm.
We have many grants for teachers, and then we give scholarships away every year.
Mhm.
But a letter of request for donation is pretty much what everybody's, like COTS will send us stuff, we get something for the music
I
festival.
see. So they're not established grants, but they're just, if you write a letter. then
Yeah,
you
a
have
request,
to,
and I know like Exchange Bank, they, on their platform, they do have a grant tab, so, for their Exchange
I didn't
Bank.
see it.
Exchange Bank Foundation,
I just didn't, I didn't see
So-
it. But I might-
Safeway,
yeah. We can talk more on that.
Sure, give me a week or two to do a better job
Sure.
of fleshing that out. And then
Okay,
that's why I don't wanna waste your time on something
I'll
that
do
I
some
just
digging around.
spend more time
If
on.
I come up with anything, I'll pass it on to you.
Great,
well, I
thank
have
you.
a question and a comment. So I'm just curious to know, I'm not against members volunteering to write grants, but I'm just wondering if there's any sort of conversation before the grant is applied for, that we actually qualify and that it's a good fit and that, because there is a danger in applying for grants that we don't necessarily qualify for in the criteria, or it's a stretch, and so I'm just wondering if there's that conversation before the process is even started, or if it's just kind of like, I'm gonna write this grant, I'm gonna send it to you.
Well,
Um,
I'm just beginning that whole process. I'm just really starting to build that whole process, so I can say that hasn't happened yet.
Okay,
Are you concerned that we're putting out a lot of our organizational information, and that's what's dangerous about applying to grants without having them necessarily fit, or?
I think it does not look good on the agency to apply for a bunch of grants that aren't a good fit. No, not to not get them, that aren't a good fit. It's always hit or miss, but it always makes me uncomfortable when an agency is just pumping out a bunch of applications that may not be, and I don't know about these grants. I feel like there should be some agency participation in the discussion before all the work is even done, because I don't wanna waste our members' time.
Well, agreed. You know, we would pick and choose the grants, to see which ones, yes, that we most fit at. Why would we wanna spend our time filling out paperwork when it looks like they're just gonna say, this is the wrong
Yeah.
organization for us? I think that's
So not familiar with these types of grants, is this possible that the person submitting it without proper vetting could be committing the organization to something?
Because
Worst
it's not
case, matching
feasible.
funds?
Yeah.
And
could be, I'm sorry.
worst case, could they be offering to commit the organization to something like, or in the worst case, matching funds?
Meaning the organization would have to match what they,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Or
think we would
Some of the
definitely
federal grants
want-
that we do are 3-to-1 and stuff like that, but.
I'm pretty sure we'd know
Yeah.
exactly what the grant was all about
Okay.
before we went into it. And if we didn't think that we could match funds, then it's not something that we would move forward on.
But we wouldn't know that as an agency unless we were having that discussion prior, and that's worst case scenario, but we could be committing to deliverables that aren't feasible.
Well,
Or in
yeah.
kind.
Or whatever it is, I just wanna make sure that the agency knows prior, before the volunteer.
Sorry, just want to make sure you know what you're talking
PCA,
about.
Tim's gonna be mad. Okay,
I'm
so
giving up.
I think it's important that PCA knows exactly what's being applied for before it's applied for, and we give the go-ahead saying, yes, this is possible, and then we properly vet budget, deliverables, and these might be little grants they're just giving us money, but I just wanna make sure the story that's being told is ours.
I see, and that we're not latching on to their purpose for their organization and what they're
Mhm.
trying to push out.
No, that the
into
member's just
Or-
telling their own
or-
story.
Or the person writing the grant
Yeah.
isn't submitting something that has a commitment that we're not prepared to back up.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a really good
I
point.
borrowed Dominic.
It's a very good point. I can say though that anything that we apply for will be thoroughly looked through.
Okay.
You know, and special attention being paid to any commitments that they're expecting us to have as far as our
Mhm.
mission. Obviously, our mission has to match theirs, or at least it can't conflict, and we can't change our mission based on.
We can't say we're gonna do things that we can't do though. That's the big,
Yeah.
that's the big
Exactly.
compliance thing that I run
Exactly.
into a lot, yeah.
Because you remember there was some advertising materials a year or so ago. It
Really?
was- Yeah,
Okay.
they were done with good intentions, but they didn't actually fit what the message we were trying to say was.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure that
Agreed.
you got an iron fist on those guys. Pound them there.
I think we'll do well. Did they share the
Anything
comment?
else?
Mhm.
Anything else on your report?
That's it.
Any more questions or comments?
I think we beat that
Okay.
into the ground pretty well.
Yes, thank you, Jill. We're gonna move on. We have nothing on our consent calendar, and as far as reports of committees, unless,
I don't think anyone met.
I don't think any
So-
committees met. Our executive committee did not meet because it was the same day of the members' annual meeting, so let's look at old business and note that there are no items under old business, which means we're doing pretty good. And under new business, item 11A is a discussion and possible action to appoint a board director. And I did send out to you all the application submitted by Fred Carroll, and I don't know why he's not here tonight. I'm sure he's got a good reason, but this was to make that appointment if this board so chooses. However, I'm gonna ask you if you would rather have this tabled until Fred can be here.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Then let's just table that right
It's
now.
a good idea.
And that is the,
11A.
11A, yeah.
Put that on the November agenda. 11B is a discussion and possible action to appoint board officers. And this is an exercise we do at every meeting in October after our annual election. And this is to make appointments for chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. So what I'm going to do right now is open up nominations for the board of directors chair.
I nominate Cindy Thomas.
Is there a second?
Second.
Did you
Okay.
accept the nomination?
I will accept the nomination, yes.
It's going easier than it usually is.
And
Usually fights harder.
there was a motion on,
Does?
there was a motion on the floor. Okay. Discussion, yes, I will accept the nomination. And is there any further nominations for chair?
No.
No.
Are there any other nominations for chair? Seeing none.
You have to just do it 3 times.
Oh, I have to do it 3 times?
That's what you said the other
Click
years.
your
I
heels.
thought,
And
yeah,
actually,
I think
she's
it's
supposed to
three.
be doing it, not you.
Yeah.
because you're-
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, seeing none, all those
Over
in
grade.
favor of Cindy Thomas for chair, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Are you kidding?
Anyone abstaining? Okay. We will now take nominations for vice chair, and I would nominate Domenica Giovannini.
I'll second it.
Okay,
I accept the nomination.
all right. Do we have any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? And I think you're right, it is 3. Are there any other nominations
It just rings
for
better.
vice chair? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it's
it
like
is 3.
Odds.
Kind
Seeing
of sounds
none,
like something out of the.
Yeah, you don't have to say what
It-
it's.
yeah,
what
it is. It's
Powdered wig,
Robert's
too.
And ring a
rules
bell.
sometimes is brutal. All those in favor for Domenica as vice chair? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Welcome aboard, Sailor. We will now take nominations for secretary. I would nominate Judy Kirschner for
So
secretary.
brave. So brave.
I second that.
Okay, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, are there any
For-
other nominations for
Have to aspire.
secretary? Are there any other nominations for secretary? Are there any more nominations for secretary?
It's just like your going gone thing.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing none, all those in favor of Judy for secretary? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I did.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
welcome back, Judy.
Nobody
Thanks.
cares.
I didn't know it was
Okay,
You have to
and
ask me for 10
we
minutes.
will now take nominations for the seat of treasurer.
I will nominate Randy.
I'll second that.
Okay, Randy Stewart, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, are there any other nominations for treasurer? Are there any other nominations for treasurer? Last call for nominations for treasurer. All those in favor of Randy, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, here we are.
I feel like I'm at an auction. Say 3 times.
Okay, we have an executive committee, and we will move on for the next year. Item 11C under new business is a discussion on possible action to identify a date for a retreat. And I know holidays are coming up, and this is gonna be a difficult task.
Can we do it before the holidays? Do
That'd
we have a
be nice.
location?
Wait, retreat, don't we usually do that in?
We're doing
Let's
like a-
find a date, and
we're
then
doing
we'll
it
find
like
a location.
mini retreat.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
Like in
it'll be a
Monterey?
smaller version of the retreat that we had last March.
That's what I was
This one
wondering.
is more, this should be probably like, I would imagine it to be like 3 hours, no more than 4 hours, to include Jill.
Jill, the judges.
I almost said Jude, include
Do you want
Jill.
to do it at Lagunitas?
That's what I was gonna say, we can probably get that again depending on.
Yeah, we could, but I don't see any need to call in all the staff unless Jill, when we're doing the
Maybe
agenda, you
your
feel that we
option.
should. I think this is more of an orientation for Jill than anything.
New board
Should it be
members.
past the
Yeah.
final, well, we have it, you'll need to announce the job opening. for ED.
Right.
And so it would need to be after that, whatever that process, however long.
Right, the position's gonna be posted, mid-November, we said.
That's, we're gonna wait until we have a potentially, permanent ED.
Right,
Okay.
so. What are people's thoughts?
I mean, I would like to do it before the December holidays if possible. I think waiting till January is,
Cool.
Well, that doesn't make much sense since March would be.
we're like in the middle of the fiscal year, like to kind of get a little ahead of it.
What, how long does the job has to be posted? 30 days?
How as long as we say.
Oh, okay.
Right, it just has to be posted. And we usually know in 3 to 5 days if we're gonna get applications.
So
Okay.
like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
You could say open until filled and say, oh, that one looks good, interview them, you're hired.
I like that, open until filled.
Yeah, it's normal.
So December?
Had a cavity like that one though.
I will attend that 3 months, the 27th of November.
Right,
28th. It'd be really nice if it was before
So like I'm
then.
thinking,
So 3 months.
Does it need to be a weekend
Very
or
interim.
not necessarily?
yeah, for that many hours, I would, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the 14th or 15th, because I think if we give
Of
2
what month?
weeks,
December?
December.
I was gonna say the 7th, but,
I can't
14th.
do the 14th, I'm already booked.
Yeah, the 7th is
Okay,
Clover's
so we're
Christmas
talking
party.
After I placed it
I was just giving us a little padding to not do it the weekend of the 7th, just a little, because we have to close the application period, do interviews.
15th?
Shanna, what do you mean?
15th so far looks good, but I'd have to confirm
This
tomorrow.
Sunday. Well, that's a week before Christmas, 10 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a super busy week. But how long would this happen, 3 hours?
3 hours.
4 hours.
Okay. It's not a big deal.
So what, the 14th, is that what you said?
15th.
What's wrong with the first?
Sunday.
Not an overnight mud spa or something like that.
No.
We could,
That would be
Bust it out in the morning.
That's too icky.
we could extend the interim. I really don't wanna do that.
Yeah, I don't think
We
that's
could
a
talk
good
about it
idea.
at closed session too.
What's a better deal?
Well, this is on the menu. It's on the menu.
We could add it to the
Good,
menu
hungry.
for the
Yeah,
agency.
no.
Well, I think it's important that we have our retreat with the permanent ED.
So
You know what I
15th?
mean?
15th
I think
December.
the 15th, I'm fine with the 15th.
Right now, I'm fine with it. but
We
I
do it
will
like at 10, if we do the 15th at 10, we're out by 12 or 1.
Mhm.
Does that feel comfortable with people? You can do your Christmas shopping after that.
The Patriots game at 10 o'clock.
The 15th at 10 o'clock?
Who cares?
Well, I'm sure the Niner games from that time
Are
too.
you serious?
And
You're a football
I had to
fan?
be, I understand, I'd be there. So 10 to 12, 10 to 1?
6 and 0.
I think we should just probably put it in 10 to 1, and then just we'll plan to have it be shorter.
On the 15th, great.
Okay, so
That's
10.
what people accuse you of being a front runner. if you-
I can't agree to that until tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure I'm available.
Okay, so
I know.
I'm just being offset, man.
Well,
I'm
I keep my calendar at work.
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
do not double book.
Yeah, no, I understand. This is, what is it called?
You don't do phone calendar?
No, God, no. I can't look at those little dots.
Put a reminder in,
Yeah,
but that's,
yeah, I
10
just
to
send
1
an
on
email
the
to my
15th.
work.
And we're gonna do that where?
Tomorrow.
there you go.
We will figure that out.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
we're done there.
I'll wait for that
We
email.
have no items in closed session tonight, so can we get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Okay, anyone opposed? We are done. Thank you very much, everyone.